see you.
Have a seat. Yeah. Great. And we've got the next image. We will get the images up in a moment. That's
Okay.
So, yes.
Hope so.
Good to see you. You haven't been in the UK for a little while. I think you came to Caption, didn't you, in Oxford?
Caption in Oxford,
And that's
yeah.
the last time, I think, you were
Yes.
here? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And just to explain a bit of background, what do you tell us about it? Because you've been involved with comics in Spain, really going right back to the before Franco. I mean, as in not before Franco, but during
Before Franco's death.
Before Franco's death. So back to the 70s.
Yes,
you were very young when you started out, maybe
yeah.
still in your teens. I think like 18, 19, something like that. In the
I was 17.
17. Yeah.
In 73.
Yeah.
That's when I published my first page.
El Rollo, no, what was it called again?
Yeah, El Rollo
Mascarado.
Enmascarado.
I was going to say Mascarado, yes.
It was like the first fanzine ever in Spain. And we made it clandestinely.
Yeah. Who was with you on that magazine? That we might know?
Well, yes, there was Mariscal.
Right.
There was
Well, Mariscal, do you know who Mariscal is? Javier Mariscal, right? He designed the Kobe the dog for the Olympics, and he's just an absolute design genius.
Yeah.
Had a show at the Design Museum a few years back here in London. Yeah.
And then there was Nazario.
Nazario.
Yeah.
Yes. He did fantastic gay comics.
Yeah.
And he went off and became an artist, I think, didn't he? He's done
He
gallery
became a painter.
Painting, yeah.
Later, yeah. Now he's doing video.
Is he?
Yeah, he makes recordings from. He lives in the Plaza Real at the end of the Ramblas, which is a place where anything can happen at any moment.
So he films.
So he
what
goes to the
happens?
balcony and puts a camera and makes films about all kind of weird things happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So be careful what you do in the Plaza Real, or you might end up on a Nazario video. Amazing. And I remember the first time that you and I met, I think, was in about 1982, something like that, at the Salon del Comic in Barcelona. And you were there with Martí and Cesepi and other people from El Vibra, which explained El Vibra was such an important magazine in Spain, wasn't it? It really transformed the landscape of comics in Spain completely. It brought in a lot of the influences from the American underground, from alternative comics, and really nurtured you and a whole generation. So Jose Maria Berenguer, rest in peace, an incredibly important force for comics, really much missed.
Yeah, he did a lot.
Yeah.
And
the reason I remember is because at the time I was working on a magazine called Psst. It was a really pretty awful magazine. It was called Psst. It really was called that. It's a ridiculous name for a magazine, comics magazine. And we had a stand at the Salon de Comic, and we had a very, very pretty, you remembered her, a very pretty blonde lady behind the stand. And all these underground El Vibra artists were after her. And they were all trying to get rid of me because I was meant to be her kind of chaperone, but it was hilarious. And we went out to a really good salsa nightclub. I think I remember going out to with all of you. And a nice there was a bar called Sucursal. Do you remember that? Designed by
Sucursal,
Mariscal.
yes.
Is that still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still there.
It's still around.
I don't know.
Yeah. But Crumb was a big influence, wasn't he, on you early on in terms of realizing what comics could do? Robert Crumb.
Yeah,
was
to
really
me was
an epiphany.
Was a turning point.
Yeah.
Well, was the departure point, in fact.
Yeah.
When I started reading Robert Crumb and Gilbert Shelton too, it was like I said, okay, I've been reading kids comics all my life. I always thought I wanted to be an artist, but wasn't sure. But when I saw Crumb's comics, I said, okay, I want to do this. This is what I like. So, yeah, that's how I started copying Crumb.
Yeah. The influence is quite clear from your early characters.
Yes.
Gustavo, I think, is one of the early ones.
Yeah, but then very early in my career, the old influences start to
from
came.
Your childhood, yeah.
So, RJ, above,
as in Tintin.
above all.
Yeah.
Yes. And then many more. I mean, I've been, I let myself be influenced by anyone.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's the great thing about you. You're continually, you're still in evolution. You're still, changing and exploring what you can do with this. And the medium brings you back. I mean, you've done a lot of other design and posters and things, but it's comics that really are your core passion and
it's
space
my
for creation,
passion,
expression.
but it's only maybe 20% of my time.
Really?
The rest, I just do illustration.
Which
I enjoy a lot as well, so
Sure.
it's no problem.
Yeah. Should we have just to introduce what we're going to be seeing of your reading?
Yeah.
It's up, the whole page actually is up here on the screen, but we're going to go in more closely.
Yeah.
So just introduce it to us. You told me it was to do with the 1000th installment of a literary column in El País.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. They celebrated this 1000th issue just on the website.
Was that just this year or last year, maybe?
No, it's, I think, 3 years ago.
Oh, 3 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, already. And they asked me to do each day a strip during a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd rather do, not Sunday, Saturday and Sunday is holidays,
exactly.
no work.
Yeah.
So I thought I better do a whole story and then put one strip each day.
And so it goes up into a whole page like this. Yeah.
So that's why I choose this topic of 1001 Nights. I wanted to make some kind of homage to what fiction means, to the meaning of fiction. So I think
we go to the first slide, and there we go, one at a time.
Okay.
You can hear Max's lovely Spanish English, and then you can also see the original Spanish on the screen at the same time. So it's a language lesson.
There's
just charge you more for this.
There's just one panel in which I have completely changed the text.
Ah.
Yes, because there are quite many quotes by important writers.
From novels, yeah.
Yes, and one of them, which is by Roberto Bolaño, I just couldn't find the proper English translation.
Okay.
So I decided to substitute it for El Quijote, Don Quixote.
I saw Don Quixote was in there. Okay, all right, but it's tribute Bolaño, okay.
Here we go. The 1001st Night. I didn't see the devil at a crossroads. I saw him in the middle of nowhere. This happened on the afternoon of my 3rd day in the desert. He descended from the sky, planted himself in front of me, and began to tell a story. Call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, he told a long story about a sea captain obsessed with a whale, which kept me in suspense until dawn. When he finished, he asked me, "May I borrow your watch? Just for one day. I will return it tomorrow." He never did. But he would come back night after night and tell me a new story.
Have you got to read that?
Oh, no, sorry. Okay.
Hang on, just go back, could you? Sorry. Yeah.
When Gregor Samsa woke up one morning from unsettling dreams, I started down in secret, but I stumbled and fell. When I opened my eyes, I saw the Aleph, and at length found myself, as the shades of evening drew on, within view of the melancholy house of Usher. Somewhere in La Mancha, in a place whose name I do not care to remember, a gentleman lived not long ago. "Lord," said my mother, "what is all this story about?" "A cock and a bull," said Yorick, "and one of the best of its kind I ever heard." At the end of every story, he always asked to borrow something he never returned. "May I borrow your shoelaces? I will return them tomorrow." I have been keeping account of his visits. Today will be his 1000th. Now I'm afraid. I no longer have anything, absolutely nothing left to give him. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. "May I borrow your shadow? I will return it tomorrow." One more night, and it will be my last. What more could he ask of me other than my life? The 1001st Night. Today's story has been especially captivating. Seemed to lead into the heart of an immense darkness. May I borrow your teeth? Just until tomorrow. Now I know that this will not end here. Taking account of my more than foreseeable dismantling, I breathe a sigh of relief. There will be many more nights, many more stories.
That's a really great choice, Max. Really, really good.
Thanks.
Because that I think
So it's
also.
the literature night.
Yeah,
right?
it's perfect. It's perfect for it. It starts me thinking, did he really have 1,000 things he could give away up until that last night? How many bits has he got on him, you know? Yeah, but tremendous. Let's see the next image, because we've got some of your other work up on here. This is the other book that you can get. Sadly, that story isn't in English yet, and we're waiting for your new book, Vapor.
Yeah.
It's going to come out by the end of the year now, I think, from Fantagraphics.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, but this book is out already, and we've got copies here in the shop. Tell us a bit about Barin, the super realist.
Well,
Because one of the clever things, there's clearly a strong, not much more than a streak, a seam of surrealism and quite dark, strange humor to your work. It certainly taps into Buñuel and Dali and many other sources.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, of course I get influences not only from comics, but also from art, literature, whatever, you know, film. I was always very interested in surrealism since long ago. I still believe it was the last of the isms that really wanted to change the world, not just the art, but the whole life. And so in my work, I will not claim I'm a surrealist, but I use a lot the subconscious to create my stories. I use a lot dreams, stuff like that. So at the end of the 90s, I did like sort of graphic novel called The Extended Dream of Mr. D, also published in English, but
Yeah.
I think it must be sold out.
I think it's not available
Yeah.
now, yeah.
It was kind of a serious, very too serious story, very dense, and in black and white, and in a style much more realistic than the one I normally have. So after that, I got really exhausted and wanted to do the contrary. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do humor, I'm gonna do color, and I'm going to do cartoony drawings.
Yeah.
So I came up with this character, which I wanted to make it some kind of an empty box where I could put anything inside. As you know, comic characters normally they have a strong personality. They have a psychology that remains always the same. They dress always the same. You know, it's like a very fixed.
Yeah. It's
image.
like a ritual, really, almost. Yeah.
And I tried to escape from that. I tried to do the contrary. So I thought, let me see if I can create a character that, okay, dresses himself the same always, but you never know about his psychology.
No.
So the important things are the things that happen to him. He's not the important
His inner
one.
life or feelings.
He just
yeah.
reacts in one way or in another. You never know which way he's going to react. And so I had these ideas, mostly connected either with the world of dreams and subconscious, or also about religion.
These are some images of a kind of like a Mickey Mouse kind of
Kind
god
of God.
figure. Yes.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse God.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not religious at all. In fact, I'm absolutely atheist. But I am aware how much religion influences people around the world. So it's a subject that it's interesting to me.
And it has its
For
surreal,
this reason.
it has its surreal aspects to it.
Yeah,
I guess,
of
too.
course.
Yeah.
So I'm making humor about religion, but not really to mock religion, but to reflect upon it, just to think about it and its influence on people.
Right.
Yeah.
And the comics language seems to be particularly well suited, isn't it, to playing with realities and levels of consciousness. And the impossible, obviously, is the easiest thing to draw in a
Yes,
comic.
of course.
Yeah, yeah. And Bardeen, does that refer to something, the name? Just a made-up name, or does it have a... where did it come from?
In Spain, it would be the diminutive for a synonym of poet.
Oh.
Bard. Does it exist
Like a
in
bard.
English? A
Of
bard?
course, bard. So
Yeah.
little bard.
Little
I
bard.
hadn't realised. So oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So, and of course, he kind of has that generic, the kind of the little bold man, which makes you think of sometimes about Jimmy Corrigan a little bit, but also Charlie Brown in Peanuts, sort of a little bold character, the everyman, the kind of lost spirit that's kind of wandering around. It has a lovely echo of that, I think, too, which I know is are amongst the people you look at.
Yeah, it's like an everyman, but we never know anything about his life. We don't know what's his job, or if he has a job or not.
Yeah.
We don't know if he has girlfriends or is married, or he's always walking on his own, and strange things happen to him.
So for you, it's a great sort of freedom to not be sort of tied down to a story or developing something. It's just complete creative.
It allows me
space.
to work in a wide variety of tones for the story. Like some are very philosophical, others are more poetical, others are just fun, or nonsense, or whatever. So I can do anything.
But your work has become more and more poetic and philosophical, as you just described. We've got an image up here of a very new book that came out, I think, last year, didn't it? Which is to do with literally the last days of Pompeii. This is not the big 3D special effects spectacular. Now it's showing at your local megaplex. This is the complete opposite, actually. Did you see Frank Santoro's book about Pompeii?
I just went through it, but I haven't read it yet.
Yeah. Anyway, just sorry, detour there. But just that's an image from here.
This one is not exactly about Pompeii, but
it's
about
set during the
Herculaneum, which is the town.
Also wiped out, of course. Yes.
Yeah, also wiped out by the volcano.
Yeah.
And in that town, it was discovered a huge library, almost burnt, but not completely burnt, on philosophy, and especially on Epicurus. So a cultural institution from Madrid, La Casa del Lector, did an exhibition of this papyrus, and they asked me to do a comic on it. Normally, I never do comics by
commission.
By commission.
Yeah, yeah.
But this story was especially interesting for me because it involves books, it involves philosophy, and it involves a volcano.
Yes, right.
Wonderful.
So you have got a volcano exploding, have you, in there?
Yeah, it's the end of my story ends when the volcano explodes.
Oh, okay, right.
And the whole story is about, because we don't know much what happened there.
No.
It was a big Roman villa, so, and it was supposed to be owned by Julius Caesar father-in-law. So it was something with power and money. He had this huge villa and this library inside.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he was very good friends with an old philosopher. But the destruction happened 100 years later of this. So we really don't know who owned the villa by then and what was going on there. But the theory says that they really built sort of a community like Epicurus did in Athens. So it's a community of people that shared everything and that follow the rules of Epicurus, you know, simple life, friendship, no pain, no fear of death, no religion. So I did the story about the last night with a young student who arrives there to study philosophy and the keeper of the library, an old philosopher. So they just talk in the garden at night when the volcano is starting to make things tremble and so on. And I did everything on black shadow.
Yeah.
You see?
Silhouettes.
Just with two tones, black silhouettes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. And your other project, this was for the
This is-
newspaper ABC, is that right?
No.
It wasn't ABC.
No, El País.
El País,
For
again,
El
El
País.
País. Okay,
Yeah.
excuse me, yeah, right.
Yeah, this is a strange experience. There is a contemporary art big fair in Madrid, Arco, and this newspaper every year gets a huge stand and invites an artist to put something there. So 2 years ago, they asked me to do something. So I'm very aware of the controversy, of the current controversy between high art and low art, and about between painting and comics and so on. So I just wanted, it was the first time that comics were in this fair, you know.
Right.
Comics made by a comic author,
Yes.
because sometimes you have painters that
Yeah.
do
a painting on the
things
side or something,
inspired on comics. Okay.
Yeah. Right, right.
So yeah, I just came with this idea.